we are very excited to bring a topic of relevance, very much relevant today, which is the talk of the town, and it needs a lot of discussion. A topic which needs a lot of discussion for all associated with pharma, marketing, sales, and other practices related to pharma. So,
yeah, right. So just one thing to tell you that we'll be keeping you on mute so that we can have a smooth running of the session. After all the slides are over, we will also open the forum for discussions. At that time, if you have queries, questions, you can ask directly to Sir Bajpai sir. So yeah, now 208 people have joined already, and still 1 minute left. So I think it will be a good gathering today on this discussion. Really excited to see the enthusiasm to learn about the rule and regulations that apply to pharma, sales and marketing.
Right, Satish. So we can start the session formally now. Can we have the video?
Sure, Dr. Satish.
Thank you so much, Satish, and welcoming again our participants, our speakers, and all the people who are in the network who have taken out time on Sunday morning and joined us to learn about pharma marketing and sales regulations, a topic which needs to be discussed regularly, which needs to be, given the expert opinion. A lot of expert opinion and discussion shall happen. And that is why we have today collaborated with Institute of Medicine and Law to bring you this session on UCPMP discussions. Thank you all for joining us today. We received, 50 questions even before the start of the sessions, and almost crossing 1,200 registrations for this session. A lot needs to be done, it looks like, in this on this topic, and a lot of queries would be there. We are expecting, as evident from the number of registrations and questions that we are receiving on this topic. Well, as a learning and development platform for the pharmaceutical industry, we always try to bring the right discussions for you. And we are really, really thankful for the team at Institute of Medicine and Law and our respected advocate Bajpai, who have taken out time to join hands, collaborate, and bring a session on UCPMP today for the pharmaceutical professionals. At Pharmaceutical Academy, we take care of your learning and development needs, year-long, continuous needs, continuous sessions in a blended format, online and offline formats, wherever and howsoever you want it. With this, I would like to say a few introductory lines, or you may say a few introductory points about Mr. Bajpai, who would be giving his insights today on the topic. And then after that, we will having the question and answer sessions. So introducing to you Mr. Mahendrakumar Bajpai. Many of you, rather most of you, must be knowing about him. He is Advocate, Supreme Court of India, Honorary Director at Institute of Medicine and Law. Advocate Mahendrakumar Bajpai is India's leading authority on medical laws, and he is also a practicing counsel of Supreme Court and Honorary Director of the Institute of Medicine and Law. His views on the subject are not only respectfully heard in India, but in many other countries too. His advice to doctors in difficult times is useful and unique. His practical tips on avoiding legal problems are highly valued by the medical fraternity. And his extraordinary ability to explain the most complex legal dictums in a layman's language makes his speeches not only interesting, but also of practical use. And that is where this session is placed. We want to make the complex legal dictums simple, understand from Advocate Bajpai about how to understand these guidelines and laws. Known for his forceful arguments in courts, Advocate Bajpai is a reputed speaker commanding the respect of both the legal fraternity and the medical community. So welcome Advocate Bajpai to the forum. And before I hand over the session to Mr. Bajpai, Vivek sir, I would like you to speak a few words about the session today.
Thank you so much, Swati, and welcome Dr. Bajpai sir. I know that after listening to you, I'm sure you'll have many fan followers, especially amongst the CEOs and the owners of pharmaceutical companies. And their obvious question will be, Bajpai sir, we want to help privately to find loopholes in the UCPMP code if it is converted into a law. But Pharma State Academy, as strong proponents of GMAP, that is good marketing practices, will request you to do a great service to the patients who are first humans. During the course of your discussion this morning, please guide and help the Department of Pharmaceuticals or the regulatory body to plug these loopholes even before UCPM becomes a law. Thank you very much, and over to Swati once again.
Thank you, Vivek sir. And I won't take much time. Otherwise, people will say, you know, you are taking up time. So, Bajpai sir, over to you, and please guide us on this topic.
Thank you, Swati, for those kind words. Thank you, Vivek sir, for guiding me. Some guidance obviously was given by Dr. Swati and Satish earlier also. But yes, whenever we talk about healthcare, no one should lose focus about patients, their welfare, their safety. And certainly, when law also operates in the domain of healthcare, a very interesting fact, sir, Vivek sir. The objective of law always has been to enhance patient safety, to ensure patient safety, to ensure that the patient is not exploited. And yes, whether we are doctors, whether we are lawyers, whether we are marketing professionals or owners of pharmaceutical company, let us not lose sight of this fact. Friends, yes, we are today going to discuss about laws pertaining to pharmaceutical marketing. Whatever little I know about pharmaceutical marketing and what role law has to play in pharmaceutical marketing, I'll try to throw light on it. This discussion obviously has been facilitated by Pharma State Academy due to a very recent judgment passed only a month back, whereby the Honorable Supreme Court has disallowed some expenses for a pharma company. What are the impact of that judgment on pharma marketing? We'll try to decipher that. And after that, whatever questions come, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. So friends, without going further, let us straight away come to the topic. So I think I'm sharing my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Please share the presentation. Yes, sir. It is now there.
Yeah. So friends, we are going to talk about law. Obviously, that is what a lawyer will do. The most elementary aspect that everyone should know. Why only someone in marketing or with pharma? And something that is very basic, very fundamental. is the difference between law and ethics. Ethics can be extrapolated to even get morality within its ambit, though both are different terms. Is there any difference between law and ethics? This discussion is very important for pharmaceutical marketeers because you have an ethical code in place. And every day you have to decipher, you have to understand it, you have to see how it can be applied, misapplied, not applied, and things of that sort. So the very first clarification, let us understand the difference between law and ethics. I will not take you through the legal definitions. In fact, this happens to be the first chapter that is taught to every student of law. Difference between law and ethics, how law graduates from ethics, how ethics graduate from law, and so on. Let us not waste our precious time on these legal jargons, but very specifically, law is something that is mandatory. You can't say no. If you are living in a particular place, the law of the land would be applicable. You don't have an option to say, no, I won't follow this law. Because if you don't follow that law, you will be punished. There are legal consequences. This is not true with ethics. I have my own ethics. I have my own moral principles. Completely voluntary. Why others? My son may not follow them. He may have his own, and in fact, he will have his own ethics, his own moral principles. And certainly the state, the government, the official machinery has no role in enforcing any ethics. Yeah, there would be certain dharma gurus, certain social workers who would be talking about this is ethically good, this is good. This will get you heaven, this will get you hell. But the state cannot enforce an ethical code. State, and when I am saying state, friends, it means the government of the day. It does not have any powers to enforce an ethical code, a moral code. It differs from person to person. It differs from society to society. It is never uniform. And in some places, we have seen, if you don't follow ethical code, the societal pressure is so great that one has to follow it. Best example, 𝗨𝗵𝗁𝗪 in Haryana. They have their ethical codes, their moral codes. You break it and then you can't live there. As good as that. It is harsher than the legal punishment that the state can inflict upon you. But that is done by a group of people. The government of the day has no role to play in it. This is the very basic, very fundamental difference between law and ethics. I will try to illustrate it further. Friends, you all interact with doctors day in and day out. And you would be hearing from them that, oh no, we have to accept emergency patient, whether that patient has money, whether that patient has no money, whether he is accompanied by attendants, not accompanied by attendants. It is mandatory for doctors to accept a patient who is in need of emergency care. Doctors includes hospitals also. This is the law of the land. Very interestingly, let me also share with you, there are two bodies that can make law. One is the legislature and other official bodies. the parliament, the Vidhan Sabhas, the municipalities, even the managing committee of your society, because it is made under a law. There is a law which has given them permission, which has given them the mandate to make laws, and they are making laws, they are making guidelines. The second body that can make law is courts, especially the constitutional courts. By that I mean high courts and the Supreme Court in India. They can also make law. Okay, this is right, this is wrong, you have to follow it. So this law was not made by any parliament. This law was not made by any Vidhan Sabha. This law was not made by Medical Council of India. This law was made way back in 1989 by the Supreme Court of India. Any patient who comes to a doctor, any patient who comes to a hospital needs emergency care, it is the duty of the hospital and doctor to accept such patients, stabilize such patients, provide appropriate care. You don't do it, you will be punished. But this duty is cast when the hospital is open. This duty is cast on the doctor when he is in his clinic in the working hours. What about a doctor who is on his vacations? Or what about a doctor, he is at his residence, he is just going to sleep and the neighbor comes in. Doctor sir, my daddy is having some trouble, palpitating, probably a heart attack. Law has no role to play here. It is the ethics. It is the moral code that is followed by that doctors. And you interact with doctors, you will be knowing this. There are some doctors who say everything related to medicine only in my clinic. Once I leave my clinic or hospital, I am not a doctor. Don't trouble me. There is a Hippocrates oath, which is exactly opposite to something like this. Any person, anywhere, anytime, you see him in pain, as a doctor, you have to volunteer yourself. Written obviously 2000 years back. Some of you may have experienced this on the flights. Announcements are made. Is there any doctor on board? Please, there is a health emergency. Yes, it's up to the doctor. He may volunteer, he may not volunteer. This is ethics. But when the doctor is in his clinic, when the doctor is in his hospital, in his normal working hours, an emergency patient comes in, whether he has money, he does not have money, he has an attendant, does not have an attendant, he can speak, he cannot speak. Whatever best needs to be done must be done. You don't do it, you will be punished. Friends, simple difference between law and ethics, and very relevant for today's discussion, because we are going to discuss law, we are also going to discuss something about ethics. One simple clarification. Please don't get confused by the names of regulations and codes. The simple test is whether an authority which is empowered by law has made a law or not. If yes, then it is a law. If not, then it could be ethics also. Friends, this Indian Medical Council Professional Conduct Etiquette and Ethics Regulations 2002, made by Medical Council of India. Senior ones amongst you would be knowing it. At that point in time, MCI was an elected body of doctors. There were no lawyers. Otherwise, this etiquette and ethics would not have been here. This is the written law for doctors. It has nothing to do with ethics. It has nothing to do with etiquette. And later in our discussions, we will see that it is this law which has been applied in the judgment. So please don't get confused by the nomenclature, especially in India, where we are not very particular about the nomenclature of our laws. This is a law made by Medical Council of India. This Medical Council of India came into existence thanks to an Indian Medical Council Act 1956. This Medical Council of India had the power, was empowered, had the jurisdiction to lay down a code of conduct for doctors practicing modern medicine. They laid down this code of conduct. Nothing remains in the name. If a doctor does not follow it, he may have to pay fine. He may lose his right to practice. So there are legal consequences. Moving forward, friends, as far as you pharma marketing people are concerned, the law that regulates you is the Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. There is another one also, especially if you are in advertisement. Obviously, advertisement happens to be an integral part of your duty as marketeers. Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisement Act 1954. You have to follow it. Some rules have been made under the Drug and Cosmetic Act 1940, and especially the 1945 rules, and the ones who are in medical devices, a separate set of rules have been made. Medical Devices Rules 2017. As far as the authorities are concerned, because you also have to look into the guidance, the circulars, which are issued by the authorities from time to time. I'm talking about the statutory authorities, the legal authorities who can give you directions which would be law, which have to be followed. You may be having your associations every other day, they can come out with guidelines and circulars. If you want to remain a member of that association, you have to follow it, or you can simply say, no, I don't want to remain a member, and you just get out of it. Or they may simply expel you from their association. That's fine, but that's an ethical, moral part. Nothing what is known as the law of the land, which one has to follow. So the authorities that you should be looking upon is Department of Pharmaceuticals. It is a department under the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, Government of India. Similarly, there is a statutory body, Indian Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, something akin to FDA in US. So the directions which come from these, you have to obviously follow them. Now let us come to the ethical codes which are important for you, which are applicable, which you will have to look into. The first one, the foremost one, which is always at the back of your mind as pharma marketers, happens to be the UCPMP, Uniform Code for Pharmaceutical Marketing Practices. I have already shared with you that the authority, the department, which is concerned with pharmas, with pharma marketing, happens to be Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. This ethical code was brought into existence, rather notified, by the Department of Pharmaceuticals. And it is in force from 2015. But friends, very clearly, this happens to be an ethical code. It is a set of guidelines. It does not have the force of law. You don't follow it, you don't get punished. The threat that the authorities, the government has posed is that if you don't follow this ethical code, we will bring out a law that would be mandatory in nature. In fact, the covering letter, signed probably by the Joint Secretary of that ministry, very clearly lays down, and let me read it. The UCPMP is to be voluntarily adopted and comply with by the pharma industry for a period of 6 months, with effect from 1/1/2015. It would be reviewed thereafter on the basis of the inputs received. I don't have any information whether they have reviewed it, whether they have not reviewed it, whether they have found your conduct to be satisfactory, not satisfactory. But the fact remains that even today, it happens to be a voluntary code. You may follow it, you may not follow. Advisable to follow. And the punishment, if you go through this code, the punishment has to be given by the pharmaceutical associations or bodies of pharmaceutical companies. They will punish you. The government of the day has no role to play. The police will not come and arrest you. The authorities are not going to send you a show cause notice if you don't follow this code. The threat is there. You don't follow it, we will make it a law, then we will make you follow it. Then imprisonment, taking away your licenses and things of that sort will come, but not today. There is another code also, especially if you are in advertising. Again, ethical code. Code for self-regulation in advertising, made by the Advertising Standards Council of India. You should look into it, especially if you are advertising. Now, friends, let us also understand something about laws and authorities which govern doctors. Ultimately, your interaction, your target audience happens to be doctors. The authority is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Health happens to be a state subject as well as the central subject. Both of them can legislate on it. You have different acts, different laws made for Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani. You have one set of law. For homeopaths, you have one set of law. For dentists, you have law. And another set of law for allopaths, the practitioners of modern medicine. And each of these laws brings into existence a body, a regulator. These would be statutory regulators, legal regulators, regulators who can punish you, who have the powers to punish doctors. As far as modern medicine is concerned, about 2 years back, we had the Indian Medical Council Act 1956. And under that act, from time to time, various code of conducts were laid down. The last one that was made was in 2002. It is known as the Indian Medical Council Professional Conduct, Etiquettes and Ethics Regulations 2002. 99% of the doctors in India have never heard the name of this regulation. So obviously they are not going to follow it. If you come across doctors, please tell them to read this piece of law. That is the minimum that they can do to keep themselves updated as far as law is concerned. And friends, this regulation is in force even today. Indian Medical Council is gone. In place of Indian Medical Council, a new National Medical Commission has been brought into existence. National Medical Commission Act 2019 was passed by the Indian Parliament. That body has come into place in place of Indian Medical Council. But there are saving provisions which say that if any rule, any regulation has not been specifically deleted from the list of laws that are applicable, it will remain in force. So this law remains in force even today. Although it was made by Indian Medical Council, it remains in force. Now let us come to the judgment which was passed about a month back, somewhere in February, by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. The first clarification, friends, in this judgment, your Uniform Code for Pharmaceutical Marketing Practices, UCPMP, is not in dispute. This judgment is not about UCPMP. although it has a direct impact on marketing. Very interesting. So friends, we were discussing about this Indian Medical Council Regulations 2002. In 2009, these regulations were amended by the Medical Council of India, very specifically on 10/12/2009. Gifting of any form was completely banned. Completely banned. And it was not only gifting, travel facilities, hospitality, cash or monetary grants, grants given for research, completely banned. No. Let us read one provision, and I'm quoting it. A medical practitioner shall not receive any gift, shall not, it is not may not, shall not, mandatory in nature, any gift from any pharmaceutical or allied healthcare industry and their sales people or representatives. You cannot receive anything. About 7 years later, we don't know what was the reason, but an amendment was brought into this 2009 amendment. So it was further amended. And punishment was added. And while adding that punishment, very interestingly, the bar was somewhere raised to take gifts. Again, my interpretation. Most of the lawyers in pharmaceutical companies, they have this interpretation. Matter has yet not reached the court. How? So the change that was brought in law was that yes, a medical practitioner will not receive any gift from pharmaceutical or allied healthcare industry. Agreed. But that gift has to be above 1,000, and then they have laid down, if it is between 1,000 to 5,000, there would be censor. You will be called and you will be said, look, you have taken a gift from a pharma company, that's bad. You will be censored. That's all. And then if it is 5,000 and above, it is 1 lakh and above, you will be, but the quantum of punishment goes on increasing. Maximum punishment is your name from the register will be removed for 1 year. This is the punishment for doctors. But below 1,000, it's open for interpretation. So this was the first law which is applicable in this judgment. We'll discuss it when we discuss the judgment. The second law which is applicable, to understand this judgment, let us understand that law also. It is the Income Tax Act. Everyone has to pay income tax. No one will say on camera it's a pain, but yeah, for most of us it's a pain. But then it is good for the country, it's good for the society. The state has to get its revenue from somewhere. So as far as income tax is concerned, the assessees are broadly classified into two groups. One is the salaried groups and the other one happens to be professionals and businesses. Now, as far as the salaried groups is concerned, they are taxed on salary. You get salary of X. You just go with the various documents showing exemptions. You get those exemptions. The rest is paid as income tax. But for professions and businesses, which includes advocates, we are taxed on profits, on gains. What is a profit or gain? We all know. Net revenue minus whatever you have expended. But it is not whatever you have expended. Here lies the catch. there is an explanation. Section 37 of the Income Tax Act, it lays down all the norms, all the rules that have to be followed to get those expenses. And in fact, one of the explanation to that rule, the first one says, you should not be spending money for something that is an offense, something that is prohibited in law. Otherwise, every other person would, claim expenses. I went to a local rummy club and I lost 10,000 rupees. Now this is an expense. No. Gambling as such is prohibited in India. You cannot claim all the losses that you have made there as expenses. Very simple. So friends, there are two laws. One, doctors cannot take gifts. Law made for doctors. And another law, the Income Tax Act. The profits that would be taxed would be revenue minus expenses, but all the expenses that you are doing must be for legal purposes. Anything that is prohibited by law, anything that is an offense, if you spend money on that, then that will not be counted as expense. It will be clubbed to your profit and income tax will be levied on that profit. I hope I am clear on these two aspects, very fundamental aspects, very simple. But these lies in the genesis of this controversy. Now, after the Medical Council of India came up with the amendment in 2009 saying that gifting is banned, prohibited for doctors, the Central Board for Direct Taxation, they issued a circular, an internal circular to its assessing officers. They keep on issuing this from time to time because the law changes. This law has changed, that law has changed. What is the impact of that law? They try to educate their income tax officers. So in this circular, which was issued in 2012, they pointed out that, look, now giving gifts to doctors is illegal, or rather it is illegal for doctors to receive gifts. It is prohibited. So now, if a doctor has received a gift, you add that gift to the doctor's income and accordingly you have to tax. And if a pharmaceutical company has given gifts, then you don't let this amount come into expenses. You club it with the profit and tax it. That's all. So both have to be taxed. That is what the CBDT says. So what happens to this company, which went before the Supreme Court? They had claimed expenses of around 4.72 crore rupees. And very clearly they had declared that we have given some freebies to doctors. It is in the form of hospitality, conference fees, gold coins, LCD TVs, fridges, laptops, and so on. It seems that all the gifts that were given were of more than 1,000 rupees. That one inference one could draw from this judgment, although this is not stated anywhere in this judgment. Now, when this return goes before the Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax, he disallows this expense of 4.72 crores. He adds it to the profits of that company and he imposes income tax on that. Now, this order is challenged before the Commissioner of Income Tax, then before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, then before the Madras High Court, and ultimately before the Honorable Supreme Court of India. On 22nd February, the Honorable Supreme Court of India passed the judgment. Judgment was very clear that whatever was the order of the Deputy Municipal Commissioner, Deputy Income Tax Commissioner, that will stay, it is legal. And this pharmaceutical company will have to pay income tax club that expense with the profit and then pay tax. Two very interesting arguments were advanced by the pharma company in the court. I'll share that with you. The first one was, and again in courts, in the higher courts, we always cite something known as precedents, judgments given by the Supreme Court or the higher courts in an earlier case. We try to draw parallels here. This was done or not done. This law or this argument, these reasonings are squarely applicable to my case also. So I should also be given similar reliefs. One of the case which was cited was, again, this Commissioner of Income Tax versus Messrs. Khemchand Motilal Jain. Now here this Mr. Jain, he had paid 20 lakh rupees as ransom. He was in Chhattisgarh, that Tendua leaf auction. He had sent his manager, and his manager was kidnapped by Maoists. And they asked 20 lakh rupees. He went to the police. For around 3 weeks, the police tried to find out that abducted manager, could not find. Ultimately, he gave 20 lakh rupees. And he claimed that 20 lakh rupees as business expense. Now, this pharmaceutical company said they had paid ransom. And that ransom was allowed earlier. What wrong have we done? Doctors are prohibited from taking gifts. Why are you taxing us? And the Supreme Court said, look, there is no law in India as of today which prohibits you from paying ransom. Asking for ransom certainly is prohibited. And he did it for his own manager. Nothing wrong. So this case will not be applicable. Another very interesting case, a very high profile case involving one of our ex-prime ministers, 𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗪𝗓. That was cited by the pharmaceutical company. But the court pointed out, you are pointing out a wrong case, because in that case, for the first time, it was held that it is not only the bribe giver who is a bribe taker who has to be punished, who has broken the law. Even the bribe giver has broken a law. Both should be punished. So it's good that law is made for doctors. IMC regulations 2002 is meant for doctors. They should not accept gifts. But then you also should not be giving something that has been prohibited to them. And there is an Income Tax Act, Section 37, Explanation 1, which prohibits you. So the Supreme Court upheld the order of the income tax authorities. This company was asked to pay tax on these freebies. They were clubbed with the income of that company and they were directed to pay tax. I hope Swati will be circulating that judgment. It's a good read. It's a really good read for everyone. Very simple. Justice Bhatt has probably written that judgment. There is a bigger problem probably awaiting. A petition has been filed in the Supreme Court by Federation of Medical and Sales Representatives Association. And they are seeking establishment of a statutory code of ethical marketing. And anyone who does not follow it, penal provisions must be there. And on this petition, notice has been issued by the Honorable Supreme Court to the Government of India, Department of Pharmaceuticals. And the next hearing is on 25th April 2022. Let us see what directions come from the Honorable Supreme Court. Ultimately, it is the government which will have to take the decision. As far as UCPMP is concerned, whether they want it to remain as an ethical code or they want to make it into a statutory code, a law. Friends, I thank you. Thank you for listening patiently. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Advocate Bajpai, for taking us through this recent happening related to the UCPMP discussions that happened. We will be having a lot of questions. Satish, can we point out some questions from the earlier files? There is a question which I'll read out. Is breaking Hippocrates' oath a legal lapse or an ethical lapse?
Clearly ethical. Hippocrates' oath I have already shared with you. It says that for all times to come, you remain a healer. And any person in pain, you have to give medicines. But the legal code does not say so. Although the IMC Act 1956 was very clear that every doctor before getting registered will take that Hippocrates oath, or rather that Hippocrates oath is a part of this regulation 2002. Yeah, it's a part of regulation 2002, not the IMC Act 1956. So they take that act, they sign it, that is all.
Thank you, Bajpai sir. There is another question which is a bit different. Is payment under consultancy agreement allowed to doctors?
So now what is this consultancy agreement? I have already said that the form or the name that you give it, that is not at all important in law. What is the sum and substance of that agreement? If at all that agreement goes to the court, whether it was in real sense a consultancy agreement or whether it was just a ploy to, camouflage your real intentions, that will be looked into. Merely because you have said consultancy, no one is going to, especially the courts and the statutory authorities, they are not going to believe you that this is a consultancy agreement. If at all that is brought before the court.
Okay. Next question is, are payout and freebies through distributor or the event manager of conference to doctor also under the purview of UCPMP? Purview of UCPMP.
Yes, why not? If that chain, if that link could be established, that you as a pharmaceutical company, you have given some special benefits to that distributor, then you are in the line of fire.
Okay. The next question says, if patient assistance program in genuine patient assistance program to support adherence and fulfillment, then why companies insist on purchase bill and empty strips for reconciliation? Doesn't that make programs equivalent to trade discount and schemes?
Once again.
Yeah, this is about patient assistance program, Mr. Bajpai, that companies generally support. So they support adherence and fulfillment for the patients through these programs. And why companies insist on purchase bill and empty strips for reconciliation? That you have done it. You have done the patient support program. Doesn't that make patient support programs equivalent to trade discount and schemes? This is a practice, that
I won't be able to answer this because I don't know. I'm unable.
Yeah, Swati, I think this is basically related to internal, policies of the company, not the external one. Yeah.
Okay. We are inviting questions and discussions with Mr. Bajpai now. So please put your questions in chat box and we will take them up. And if you want to interact with Mr. Bajpai, we will try to open the forum. The only problem is there are many participants who would be trying to interact. So there we will have to come one by one to interact with Mr. Bajpai.
Yeah, so what we will do, we'll just allow unmuting the party. You can unmute, and now you can unmute and just tell your name and then ask the question.
Before that, I'll take up a question. Mr. Bajpai, you told about, would articles of small value below ₹1,000 given as brand reminder be a disallowed expense or allowed expense?
If you ask me as a lawyer, It is the subsequent law which always stands. Okay, there is nothing that is allowing below 1,000, but there is no punishment for doctors below 1,000. And the subsequent act which has come very clearly says 1,000 to 5,000. It starts from 1,000. So again, ultimately it has to be decided by the courts. When this dispute reaches the court, it would be decided. But as of now, below 1,000, the doctor is not getting punished. It's a subsequent amendment. So the only inference that one could draw would be that below 1,000, obviously they are not bothered about it. Rather, they would be considering it as a genuine brand reminder or whatever you call it.
Thank you, Mr. Bajpai. That gives a lot of clarity on this point also.
Dr. Bajpai, just one point I'll make that. But in UCPMP, they are saying that like a gift of any value, they are mentioning. So if we combine both the things, then it will become like no gift can be given of any value if we consider both of them. But if we see separately that doctor's gadget, then it says like you're right. So I don't know, because UCPMP is not a law or act right now. So maybe there is a confusion. So
probably you have done law, you know this much law. You have answered your own question. Badhiya baat hai. Ekad question Swati inko bhi dete jao.
Can pharma companies give brand reminders to doctors in the form of in-clinic utilities?
Anything that is gift, barred. What is permitted, that is not said.
So
clarity has to come. Okay, clarity has to come. What can be given, what cannot be given. There are certain things. Ultimately, you go, you leave behind some literature about your drug, about your some good articles which have been written on that. By no stretch of imagination, this could be said as gifting, but you have expended some money on that.
Sir, I have a question.
Doctor has got it absolutely free of cost. Yeah.
I'm Prashant Sabu from Nagpur, sir. Sir, in any business, we have consultants where we pay them to get the suggestion in the business. In this business also, there are certain things for which we need suggestions from the healthcare professional, maybe about the action, how the patients are behaving after giving this drug, or what are his views, how to promote this drug. So for that, we pay them as a consultancy fee, which is a fair market value. Like the patient pays 1,000 rupees as a consultant charge. If we are taking an hour from him, we pay him 10,000 rupees through the agreement and through the bank. Is it now allowed, sir?
There is nothing that is allowed. There is nothing that is not allowed. Okay. See, these are the laws which have been laid down. Understand my problem, dear friend. I will give an opinion only when there is a written law clearly saying something like this, or there is a judgment from the court which says this is permitted or this is not permitted. Okay. Beyond this, I will not be able to say whether that is permitted, not permitted. In one sentence, please understand. As far as UCPMP is concerned, it's an ethical code. As far as IMC regulation 2002 is concerned, it is a written law. It has to be followed. Okay. When a dispute comes before any authority or court, they will not go by what is the nomenclature, what they will go behind it. We call it wheel of secrecy. That will be torn apart. What was the real intention? Let us see that. If you are giving consultancy fee in right earnest for some really good consultancy, there's no problem. But yes, if you are simply trying to bribe the doctor by giving some consultancy fee for some other things, as and when that question comes, you will have to give a reply. You will have to justify your actions. Evidence would be required.
Mr. Bajpai, this is Mahendrakumar. A very nice presentation. I would just extend my ex-colleague Prashant Sabu's questions further. Is that his question was basically he wanted to know about the CBDT, whether the CBDT will allow this kind of tax benefit for the expenses incurred by a pharmaceutical company in getting professional services from the medical doctor. It is not writing prescription about, it is the some side of, because medical doctor is also expert. So their expertise in expansion of the business of a pharmaceutical company in terms of developing a new product, designing a new education program, and a different kind of things happens that. So the question is straightforward, is that whether the CBDT allow for a legally bonded agreement, with a legally bonded agreement, a fee to a healthcare professional, which is paid against a service to them.
So I have two answers for this. One answer is, if your intentions are really to take that advice, it has nothing to promote your brand, your product, your medicine. Okay, you have no one to fear. My second answer is, I will wait to give you a 100% perfect correct answer till the date one of this consultancy agreement reaches the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says that, yes, this type of consultancy agreement is right or wrong. As of today, the written law, the statutory law which governs doctors, or the laws which govern you, they are absolutely muted on this aspect.
Sir, just to add, my name is Amninder, and I would like to ask this question. Why people are saying is because now, there were ad boards which happen where you call 10, 15 doctors and you take their advice. Now, this has been exploited now that there are consultancies agreement for 300, 400, 500 doctors. And even for a 15 minutes, 20 minutes Zoom call, companies are paying those doctors. So this is something which is, troubling everybody in the pharma, that you are having a Zoom call and you are saying that we took some time from him and we are paying him. But genuinely an ad board where 20 doctors come and they give an advice, that is separate. But the minutes of the meeting are captured, everything is fine. But for a smaller closed group, 10, 20 doctors meeting, having a 15 minute talk and justifying that they have been an advisor and a consultant, they are being paid money, which is something of concern. Why this pharma, everybody is asking this consultancy question. And there are these consultancy runs in.
So you have answered it. And you have answered it.
So
you
I
have
have
answered it. If the purpose of your consultancy agreement was some ad board or something of that sort, genuinely get their opinion, they have spent time, they have taken efforts, and you are repaying them, that would obviously be, you will be able to defend yourself. Ultimately, you are going to either video record that meeting or bring out some literature based on that meeting. You will certainly pose it before the court. This is what we have done. But what about the other person whom you said 200 people on Zoom call and you pay them 10,000 rupees? Good. Then you will have to justify that, yes, we were trying to do something good.
Sir, I have a question. This is Chandan Ghosh. Sir, lots of international conferences or even national conferences are being organized and the doctors go to upgrade their knowledge. So if somebody sends doctors for those sort of conference, will those expenses comes under the purview of this UCPMP, or will it be considered as an expense?
UCPMP, you leave it aside. UCPMP is not in dispute. But the doctors cannot take money for going to a conference. They want to update their knowledge, let them spend their own money. See, please understand, by taking all this hospitality, ultimately it is the patient who is at a loss. The whole purpose of whatever these ethical, moral, legal codes are trying to do is to ensure fair play. You send that patient, that doctor to a conference, you spend ₹1 million, and then you want ROI. Don't you look into that ROI? Everyone knows that. And who is going to pay for that ROI? It is the patient who will pay for that ROI. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, I got a question from Krishna Mohan from Hyderabad, sir. This is regarding, sir, if a company gives some X amount to a doctor, company pays tax, and after receiving the amount, doctor pays tax. It is legal. Can
100% legal. 100% legal.
There won't be any problem. No,
no problem.
So both sides, government gets tax and it is legal and we can do it.
Yes, till the time UCPMP becomes a law, it is perfectly legal. Understand one thing, my dear friend. Hello.
My apologies.
One minute.
Vijendran here, Vijendran. That is not true.
1 minute. 1 minute. Let me complete it. Swati, can I?
Yeah, Bajpai sir, please.
See, even if we, as far as pharmas are concerned, there is no problem. But for doctor, there is a problem.
Yes.
Because his ethical code bars him from taking anything above 1,000. So censure 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, that is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Dr. Swati, I have a question.
Can I make a point?
Sir, Vijendran sir, please go ahead because I was going to take your question. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, that last question, Mr. Bajpai, very well answered. Despite paying tax at both levels, while it might comply with the law, the medical MCI code of ethics does not permit a doctor to take anything. So therefore, in-clinic activities, communication, information in terms of scientific promotion is the only option left for companies to really build brands. Thank you.
Dr. Swati, I have a question if you allow me.
Sure, please, sir. Thank you, Vijendran sir. Please.
Sir, I wanted to ask is when the intent is very clear about education or scientific disbursement, there is something on the basis of which the fair market value for the doctor has to be decided. Is there any provision on what are the parameters wherein we should look at some FMV value, or is it on the companies on their own to decide on that part?
This is all your internal stuff, fair market value and all that. I don't think there are any rules and regulations which guide fair market value.
Dr. Swati,
please, one by one, dear participants, please let me speak here. We know there are a lot of queries, lot of questions. We understand that there have been a flurry of questions here, but let us go one by one, asking and discussing. Please keep it brief and short.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
yeah, this is 𝗪𝗏.
Yeah, Dr. Dinesh, you can go ahead. Please.
Yeah, Dr. Dinesh here from Supreme Drugs. Sir, we are a very small company, but we are facing the issue with not a doctor to incentive, but the medicine incentive is more than the other consulting fees as well as the doctor direct incentive to the doctor. But actually, what company is doing? Company is it is a marketing strategy. Company is doing commission, giving commission 30% to 40% even to the doctor. So how it accounted? And this is a very bad situation. It's a small company suffering a lot. So any way around to stop this activity?
So let the UCPMP become a law. All this activity will stop. You all should support the Supreme Court, that federation which has gone. All these smaller companies should come together and support. Let it be a law. Any company spending even a single money on on doctors, put their directors behind bar. That is what they are asking. In fact, the petition which is going to come, they want penal provisions.
Yeah, and sir, to compensate these, people are compromising with the API, which is coming from China.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. Thank you for your
I don't know this API, BPI.
Hello.
Dr. Swati, can you?
Yeah, please.
Rahul Dave.
Sir,
Can I speak?
Prahlad here from Bangalore.
Sir, please, Mr. Rahul, please go. And please keep it short. Yeah.
Sir, Rahul Dave from the pharma industry, sir. A little query from my side, sir. It is regarding, sir, if any input, like anything which is not of doctor's use, but anything which will be used in the hospital for the patient, say like a machine or a X-ray machine or something, that we can give, that comes under the rule, or it is not allowed that also? Not for the personal, it is for the patient use, like it will not be for...
No. So you please answer the question. If you would not have given it, the doctor would have to expend that money from his pocket, right?
Yes. He would have to pocket it, but it will be like, if it is given, it is useful for him. Like it will not be for his personal use. It will be majorly for the patient. Like it will be helpful for patient. Like
This side Neeraj, but still the doctor is going to charge for the services, right? If the X-ray or something like that. So it is a source.
Yeah, sir.
So it is source of income for the doctor. Then in that case, you cannot go for it.
See, if any machine, if a doctor doesn't charge it, for example, say a patient awareness or something, wherein he will not be charging it. It will be like free for the patient. Then it will not come under this law.
If you are just doing patient awareness programs, you are permitted to do that. Even the doctor has nothing to, gain from that. Or rather, the gain would be too intangible. Okay. You are trying to educate the patient. That nowhere comes in between. Okay, but if you are giving an X-ray machine, which the doctor would have spent ₹1 million to get that X-ray machine, and if your logic is, look, I have given the X-ray machine, ultimately X-rays of patients, doctor is going to charge. The other gentleman has rightly said.
Like for our example, if I give a video, which is, it will be of patient education, nowhere in terms of that can be given. That doesn't come under the law. Like.
That would not come even under UCPMP. Your ethical code also, it would not come, not even under that IMC regulation 2000.
Bajpai sir, but the video shall not be promotional at all. The video shall be informational, right, Bajpai sir? The content part.
See, ultimately, the doctor is not going to benefit from it. See, Swati, try to understand the rationale behind all this. Don't do this, and don't do this.
Don't do this.
The rationale is.
But then the video should not promote the products to the patients directly. That is important, and that's
another aspect. Advertising of drugs, that's a different aspect. Okay.
So, dear participants, Suman sir, we'll take your question, and after that, please, we will mute everyone because this is a bit of, a lot of questions are there. So we will please keep in chat. I'll take up the questions.
I was trying to ask this question for a while.
Yeah, please go on. Please take it.
Sir, there is something called post-marketing surveillance in pharmaceuticals, PMS, where any new drug, when it has been launched, so the doctors used to use those drugs, and then their experience they show, and for that the company pays honorary. Does it come under the law?
I am not aware. I would not be in a position to answer this.
Please send us this question, sir. Please send us.
Dr.
Satish, can we mute?
This is Dr. Deepa Arora. Should I answer?
Okay, one person. Last question we will take up, Dr. Deepa, and after that, Satish, I request you to please mute and let the questions come in chat box.
But we are not able to type on the chat.
Not able, sir. So you can take your question.
Yeah, the chat box is disabled.
Satish, can we have the chat box?
Disabled.
Yeah.
So what we will do, you can raise hand. Sorry, just a sec. What you do, you raise hand. We'll ask the name of the person, and we unmute the person, and then you can ask the question. Okay.
Yeah, that could be done. So, Dr. Deepa, you were there. Please ask.
Yeah. So regarding that question on PMS is under New Drug Clinical Trials rule. So anything that relates to post-marketing surveillance will be addressed by that rule. And specifically what DCJ expects, which is because it comes under the CDSCO office, the expectation there is that if any trial is being done, patients shouldn't pay for the drug or device for that matter. And it is the pharma companies that should provide the drug, device, and the cost for related investigations.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Deepa.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarity. Yeah, that is important.
Okay, so Mr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁, do you want to ask any question? You have raised the hand.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Regarding, if I take a professional advice, suppose I hold a camp and I take a professional advice from the doctor and I pay him a professional fees against that. And it will tax will be deducted from the source only. We'll be paying, we'll be deducting the tax. So it becomes a white money for him.
Permitted, 100% permitted.
Okay, and at the same time,
really what you are doing. That means there is a camp, and understand the atmosphere is very vitiated. So please, whenever you are doing such things, evidence must be stored somewhere. For example, if
evidence would be given.
So what was the advertisement, or how you could bring patients? then some photographs, some videos that should be preserved.
Rightly, some evidence. Right. And another thing is that giving discounts on the brand, because there is another authority, that is the Competitive Competition of India, who allows that you can give economical rate medicine to the patients. And for that, if we give discounts also for the patients, I think it can be fairly allowed.
Discount to the
if
patient.
The doctor. I give the discount to the doctor, that has to be imparted to the patients also from the pharmacy.
But that discount that you are giving is the drugs which the doctor is keeping in his clinic.
In his clinic,
and would be
in his own pharmacy.
Dispersing it to his or her patients only, right?
Patients, rightly.
That is fine.
So that can also be because you can give economical rates for the patient's benefit.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So both are legal, I think.
But do the documentation part properly? Evidences should always be created.
Yes, whenever you give any discount or bonus,
or if you are giving a discount, then let it be very clear. You write a letter to the doctor acknowledges, I will pass it on to the patients. That's fair enough.
It goes in the bill. It gets in a bill in written form.
Yeah. So, Mr. 𝗪𝗵𝘁, can you ask the question?
Thank you, Mr. Chandan. Yeah. Mr. Dhanesh? Vijay Dhanesh?
Yeah, Mr. Bajpai, thanks a lot for the session, and Pharma State also for arranging such a wonderful session. There is one question. If you talk about many of the time we do patient camps in order to increase the awareness about disease, something like that, which may happen 100 kilometers away from where the doctor stays. So at times companies have to extend hospitality, taxis, or travel. So is it legally permissible for the companies to extend this sort of a thing? When we talk about hospitality, it can be hotel stay, taxi arrangements, foods, all those things.
See, understand, let us be very clear. Okay. If your intentions are really good, okay, no law will come in between. But when your intentions are something else, कहीं पे निगाहें, कहीं पे निशाना, तो फिर तो दोस्त थोड़ी सावधानी बरतनी पड़ेगी.
Wonderfully answered, Bajpai sir. Answers many questions at one go. Thank you, Mr. Vijay Dhanesh, for asking. Mr. Vinayak
Mr. Pankaj Srivastava, sir, can you ask a question? Yeah.
Sir, most of the organizations, including multinationals, in the garb of paying money to the doctors, they create various advisory boards, national, regional, district level. And then they give them money. And the pretext is that there is an advisory board and they advise the companies how to market the product. Is it legal?
I think we have answered it n number of times. Let me again answer it. It always depends upon the real intentions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj sir.
Mr. Vinayak?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Vinayak here. I have a question that we give the physician sample to the doctors basically for the new product or maybe for some promotional purpose. So will it be termed as a gift to doctors?
I think regarding that, there are some guidelines are there. I'm not very sure about that. At least UCPMP says something like that. Correct me, Dr. Swati. UCPMP has some provisions, but as far as doctors are concerned, samples I don't think come under IMC regulations 2000.
Yeah, Dr. Satish, you would be the right person.
For UCPMP, sir, they are saying they can give samples for up to 3 patients for full therapy.
3 patients is the rule, sir.
3 patients only, but they have not defined the frequency. So again, there is a query there. Yeah.
Okay. So there is still some lacuna.
Yes.
Basically, no clarity as
exactly.
Yeah. Sir, thanks
is very clearly written, but the frequency is not written. Like how many times? Like can we provide it every month or yearly or only to 3 patients for a new drug launch? So this is not much.
Okay, sir. Thanks for taking the question.
One clarification, Swati. As far as UCPMP is not UCPMC, IMC regulation is concerned, samples are not in that regulations. So doctors taking samples, they are not in any way going against the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for taking the question.
Mr. Jairam, would you like to? Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. So thanks for, first of all, for the wonderful presentation. So just by I was telling, sir, regarding this UCPMC, bigger companies like finding so difficult to give maybe in the form of consultation, but the startup companies are giving in the form of cash actually. But if that is the case, how they are able to do, sir? In the last 4 5, I have seen so many companies has been doing this actually.
How can I say, sir? I am a poor advocate. How they are able to generate this cash? And
that's
you
what that
must
was.
also see
Bigger
whether
companies
there are
facing
500
so much
rupees
challenge.
note or 2000 rupees note. Now, if they are getting that 2000 rupees note, please let me know. I also want a few bundles of 2000 rupee notes.
But startups companies from last 4 5 years, they are doing anything, so many things. I don't know how it is permitted for those companies, startups companies. I don't know. So that's I had a question.
So I was also not knowing that startups get cash. I was told that they get from check. Maybe let us both explore how they get cash, and then we both can make good money out of it.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
so,
you.
Mr. Nasiruddin Chishti, would you like to ask any question?
Yes, it's related to the same question which has been asked last time. So there are some hidden practices which are done, which are not under the records. So that's why I guess these practices are be done. And my main question was that scope of work sort of agreements they are making, like companies, pharmaceutical companies, with the support of compliance team who guide them. So it has a frame of questions which depends on the prevalence of the disease, and after taking the medicine, how are the results, and later on the details are taken, like this PAN card, other things, and from both sides the taxes are deducted. So is it permissible? Because I joined late. Thank you.
The question is, can you repeat, Mr. Nasruddin? The question is not clear. I couldn't get, I think, if you can repeat the question. Please send us, Mr. Nasruddin, the question you have. Please send us.
He's asking.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, like I have seen few companies, startup companies, off record they are giving the XYZ amount, and other thing was that this scope of work, certain sort of agreement they companies are making nowadays, in which clearly 5 to 6 questions are there which need to be addressed by doctors, like the prevalence of diseases, XYZ disease, how many percent number of patients are coming in their practice, and which are the drugs which are routinely prescribed, and they are very common questions. And after answering those questions, the XYZ amount is delivered to them. That is legally. So whether it is permissible, because new updates, what it suggests, Supreme Court updates.
The Supreme Court has nothing to say about this.
Sorry,
okay, you have already answered it. In fact, the intention here is not to take those answers. अभी जब तक उनके तारे अच्छे हैं, their earlier janmas karmas are there with them, they will not get caught, and when they get caught, then they get caught. Okay, so very clearly, if their intentions are bad, it is only just a ploy, to give money to the doctors. As and when they get exposed, they will have to face the music.
Thank you, Bajpai sir. First of all, let me ask you: would you be available 5 more minutes to answer a few more questions?
You had told me biryani would be coming here. I am waiting for that. Till the time biryani comes, I am there.
Thank you, Bajpai sir.
Okay, and, so Mr. 𝗪𝗲𝗍𝗃 Guneri, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
See, is it audible?
Yes.
Discounts are given to PCD people. Manufacturers are giving 50 to 60% discount to PCD distributors to further market, because certain manufacturers cannot promote themselves. They cannot market themselves. They try to appoint some PCD distributors and they give 50 to 60% discount. Whether this discount is allowed or not allowed.
This is your business. You can give 100% discount. Where does law come in between?
True.
Okay. The problem would be you give 60% discount to the distributor and you tell him give 30% to that doctor. And if this practice is with everyone and somewhere that as and when you come in the net, then you will have to answer, you will have to give evidence, you will have to justify what you have done. And the distributor also will have to do the same thing.
Sir, excuse me. Hello?
Yes, yes, please go on.
If an agreement is made to PCD say that you are going to make ethical promotion and such agreements are executed, then it can be safe for the manufacturers under this agreement.
With whom you have this agreement?
The PCD with
Marketing companies, Bajpai sir, with the marketing PCD companies.
Fine. So
pharma companies.
Okay. So you have a marketing company with whom you have an agreement. You will do everything ethical.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You can have and you should have those agreements. But then please ensure that it's not the agreement says something and in fact you are doing something else. Then you'll have to face the music. Be ready for that.
What PCD person does will not be known to us because we are manufacturers, we make an agreement with them saying that you have to promote ethically and you should not give any discount or any commission to doctors. In such case, whether we are liable for anything?
No. So if your instructions were not there over the table, under the table, how could you be liable for whatever he does? Much more than that, you have done a legally binding agreement. It should be enough to protect you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
See, understand, intentions are important. Please, if you are doing something wrong, well, then be ready for the consequences.
So on drug strips also, this was now, I think, made mandatory that the marketed by and manufactured by both have to be there on the strips of medicines. So yeah. I think there you are pointing out, Mr. Prahlad, how can we be liable as manufacturer?
No. See now we are a manufacturer and we give it to some PCD because we cannot market ourselves because we do not have any team.
Agree. Mr. Prahlad, I got your point. This is what Bajpai sir also explained on.
With agreement to the distributor who will further market our products and we will make an agreement saying that you are going to promote, we will follow all the regulations, rules and regulations, and you will not do any unethical marketing or anything. You will not give any commission or anything freebies to the doctors and all. In such cases, whether we are protected by the law or not.
Okay, so I'll give you now I've understood your question better. So here it would be whether the relationship between you and your so-called marketing company is on a principal to principal basis, or whether that marketing company happens to be your agent. There is a concept known as vicarious liability also. Okay, so whatever your employees do, you as the owner of the company, you as the principal, you are responsible for whatever that company is doing. So if it is your brand, the brand name is your, everything on that covering is yours, and you have given it to another company, you promote it, and that company is promoting it in an illegal way, then obviously to certain extent you also would be liable irrespective of the agreement that you have because you are the principal. But yes, if you have just given it away and that company has changed your it's in the name of that other company, that company is marketing it, doing everything on its own without any control of yours on the marketing, then fair enough. You have sold your product, they are just selling it off.
Yeah. So moving to the next.
It's complicated, but this is the law.
Yes.
Mr. Prahlad,
Prahlad from Bangalore, sir. I'm from the pharma industry. Sir, this UCPMP guideline, a few of the pharma companies I started following. You know, it's a big hub of the companies. Few companies are not following. And one point is unless and until it becomes a law, once it becomes a law, then every pharma company has to obey it. And point number 2 is, sir, these doctors, what they can accept and what they cannot accept. These guidelines are how doctor will come to know, because many a times the guidelines only followed by pharma companies and doctors community, we don't know how they will come to know what they can accept and what they cannot accept.
See, doctors must follow their law, that IMC regulation 2002, enough for them. They should not even look at what is permitted, not permitted for pharma company. That is your headache.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. N. Chandrasekharan, would you like to ask a question? Can you unmute?
Yeah, my question has already been answered actually. But one point I have,
Hmm.
I think many pharma companies are conducting a lot of conferences happening. Why don't pharma companies come forward to insist on the medical legal aspects in every portfolio that practice? Because I remember Mr. Mahendrakumar Bajpai came in 2017 to Biocon, Bangalore. We had 150 doctors. It was in March 2017, and I was working in Biocon. I think pharma companies should come forward to educate doctors on medical legal aspects and also the latest things. But then pharma companies talk about UCPMP also to doctors when they go to meet them. That's one point I'd like to really insist.
Yeah. Thank you for
But
the
there's
point.
a lot of work for you and us to do in this space.
Mr. Nishank Kala, would you like to ask a
Hello,
question?
sir, and good afternoon. Thank you for very nice explanation and presentation. Sir, with COVID shaping up now, we have more of a digital literacy. So when it comes to digital branding, say through WhatsApp or through other platforms, there is something which is not very controllable to who is the customer who is seeing it. So are there certain drafts in terms of when we are disbursing medicine related or brand related stuff to a doctor, there has to be a branding or there should not be a branding? What kind of laws that it should fit in? Because it is something which is not under control to whom it has been promoted. Point number two, sir, when we say UK, US, in a traditionally in scientific meeting, they have an allowance of say alcohol as a practice of their tradition. So is there any law wherein when we are doing a kind of continuous medical education, whether in Indian corporate traditional practices that fits into the law or it doesn't fit into a law?
Giving alcohol, you just have to avoid Bihar. That is what my information says. Okay. बाकी जहाँ भी आपको दारू बांटनी है बेफिक्र बांटो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Okay. What was your first question?
Sir, Gujarat also.
Ravi sir, ठीक है. So you just have a list. Probably Dr. Swati will be able to give you that list. So we'll try to get that list, okay, and we'll share it with you. What was your first question?
So first question is when we are doing any digital branding, say for WhatsApp. So
we have forwarded it to the persons who were intended, and they from there it has gone. See, data privacy is a big issue, and 100% data security and this communication privacy, it can't be achieved in this digital age.
Yeah, right.
But sir, there a connected question I have: is there any law which is controlling the digital media and social media things for medical and pharma?
No,
guiding us.
वो अभी आने वाला है, अभी आया नहीं है. The healthcare related information, that would be sensitive information. So it has to be sensitive personal information, something like this SPDI. So that you have to have things in places if you are bringing that data with you, how to store it, how to destroy it, and things of that sort. In the Western countries, it's a big issue.
Yeah.
The question.
So, Dr. 𝗂𝗂𝗧.
Yeah, Bajpai sir, very good morning. It was a nice session. Sir, I have a question regarding the professional ethics of medical conduct. 2002 was the first regulation. Then 2009 it got amended, and again in 2016. Then 2019 NMC came into the picture. With these time frames, we were showing to our auditors, but there was an objection from the auditors that when National Medical Council has come into the picture, MCA has got abolished. Where is that law or a regulation which shows that 2002, which holds good even today? Despite that, the finance minister might taken a rise of this in the budget meeting or the annual budget sessions, but where is that law? Because tomorrow this can be an issue if we use this as a guideline or a time frame.
So generally, when certain laws are, amended, deleted, and there is another law which comes in its place, okay, there is something known as a saving clause, which is there. And even in the National Medical Commission, there is a saving clause, specific saving clause. I'll share it with Swati, and you can see that there is a saving clause. Whatever was done by Indian Medical Council, all that would remain until and unless it is clearly, deleted, amended, taken out of the statute book. Otherwise, all those laws will remain in force. A very specific section is there.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
the lawmakers have taken care of this aspect.
Yeah, Mr. Manish Pathak, would you like to ask a question?
Very relevant
Okay,
questions now
Mr.
coming. Please
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
the
Mr.
questions
Rajesh
relevant
Dubey.
around the topic. And we will take questions for more now next 10 minutes only, and then we will close
Yeah.
the session. So please be quick and brief in your question.
Mr. Rajesh Dubey. Okay. Mr. 𝗵𝗵𝘁, sir. Please unmute.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and a nice presentation and interaction. Sir, I liked your statement, kahin pe nigah hai, kahin pe nishana. Similarly, you must understand why this is happening. There are givers and obviously there are takers. Unless there are givers, there cannot be both ways. Who is going to bell the cat? Once a while, once a year, one pharma company is taken to the court for taking the doctors to international conference, and then everything stops. One discussion today, nothing after that. My question is, why FMRI? Let us understand why FMRI has become a stakeholder and why they are coming for why they have the petition, which is going to be heard on 25th. The poor medical reps are the implementers. Everything is done by the medical rep, and nobody thinks about it. Do you think the doctors get it directly by the directors? No. My question is, who is going to bell the cat?
See, dear friend, I may not be the right person to answer it, but whenever these ills come in the society, if you believe in God, God has made us this way, or if you don't believe in God, then nature somehow,
you being a lawyer, there are laws and there are laws to bypass the same law. Similarly, pharma companies have got immense brains. They hire people only to find loopholes, and whether it is consultancy fee, whether it is some agreement or other, or cash. Who will keep record of the cash? Some gentleman was asking that startups. It is not a question of startups. I have seen good companies paying cash. The MRs have got quotas. The first line managers have got quotas. They are charging it in their expenses. Everything is documented as expenses. And he goes, withdraws from the money comes to him. The doctors get the money through his wife, son, daughter, rishtedar. कौन रोकेगा sir?
दोस्त 2 मिनट मुझे दे दो.
Please.
See, traditional wisdom, and I am not talking only India and something like this, all over the world, wherever you had these traditional societies and civilizations, 3 types of people were barred from doing commerce at all: healer, teacher, and preacher. Okay. Those wise men knew that when a person goes to a healer, to a teacher, to a preacher, he or she is vulnerable and can be exploited like anything.
Correct.
Okay. Now commerce has come in. What do you expect these hospital groups which are listed on the stock exchange? What do you expect them to do? Social service? No. They will do profits. In fact, if they don't do profit, they are doing something wrong. And friends, 30-40 years back, I have seen the respect that the doctors were getting. And you see today what is happening.
Agreed.
You don't follow these ethical, moral, proper things. It is not, law is not made, or the governments don't come from abstract. Society ka pressure aayega and things will fall into place. Probably in a bad shape. Hoga, change will come.
Sir, 2012 में ये हुआ था, अभी तो 10 साल हो गया. I mean, still.
Banerjee sir, I think we are diverting a bit from the topic. I know this is a very relevant discussion and it should have a different setup and place. But I think Bajpai sir has rightly answered that it has to come from the society itself. So it will be.
It will come. Swati, it will come.
That's why, Swati, I appreciate the program, which is right direction, but it should be a continuous one and take it so until it becomes a law. Let's wait for the 25th judgment, because FMRI is not going to leave it. They are a very strong association.
So 25th, nothing will happen. This will take 3-6 months. Abhi to notice issue hui hai. They will ask time to file reply, then a rejoinder, and then a sir rejoinder, and then someday. But if they really pursue it properly, at least the bench is good.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bajpai. But Banerjee sir, let us take the next question. Yeah, thank you for the input and a very discussion which keeps society engaged. Thank you for that.
And we'll continue the discussions for sure in more sessions for sure, sir. Right. Okay. Monica Pant, ma'am, please.
Yeah. Hi. First of all, my regards to Bajpai sir and Pharma State Academy for this incredible program. And thank you, sir, for your patience answering. Sir, my question is in two parts. First is, sir, for the acute segment, the samplings, plays a very vital role. Okay, so I just need a brief guidance on the sampling strategies to be dispensed under the guidelines. And secondly, for the contract-based companies for the local markets, so how they're going to penalize? Like we are putting our blood and sweat for the promotion, and they just simply come and they just do the needful for the doctors. So are they going to penalize, or is the doctor under the observation? So these are two questions of mine.
I could not understand them. Swati, you could simplify.
Related to sampling thing, Monica ma'am, I think
exactly.
This will not be the right forum. There are laws. So we were discussing this point earlier also, how sampling is mentioned in UCPMP and for doctors. So that we will connect and have a clarity on. The second question I couldn't even understand. What was that?
Yeah, see, the second question is that about the contract manufacturing companies. Okay, so simply they meet the doctors, okay, and they just get the business out of it, okay, by giving the freebies or the deliverables. So are they going to penalize any, regulations is there for them?
Basically, contract manufacturing and all those things. Bajpai sir, Monica ma'am, I think this question has been indirectly answered before. By Bajpai sir, that if the intent means they are doing, there will be, as soon as UCPMP is made a law, everything will be covered there and then. So currently, there is anything which is abiding or binding to them.
Contract manufacturing company, whether it comes under the definition and description of a pharmaceutical company, yes, then they are bound by UCPMP.
Okay, fine. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, so should we take the last question, Dr. Swati, and then
I am here, Bajpai sir.
Yeah, there are few hands.
Yani I nahi hai, Swati.
It's on the way, sir.
Thank you, Satish.
So Mr. Ravindra Jain, please go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Bajpai and Pharma Academy. Thank you very much for organizing this program. I'm Ravindra Jain calling for you from Yangon, Myanmar. Okay, so I want to say only one thing. It's an excellent presentation, and it is not a question. It is just a suggestion that we all need to prepare as a pharma company and doctors. Whatever you are earning, pay for tax, and then have a peaceful sleep. Thank you very much for your nice presentation.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Thank you for joining from Yangon. Mr. Raghavan.
Mr. Raghavan, yeah, Karthik, please.
Very good morning, sir.
Morning.
Am I hearing, sir?
Yes,
very good morning. This is thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for your excellent session, sir. Here, my question is, despite all these regulations given by some companies like the government, but some small companies, they don't follow any ethics, sir. They are just giving hot cash to the doctor inside the doctor's chamber, and also they are giving 100% offer also, more offers also. But the thing is, where the quality of the drug will be missed, sir. Actually, so how these companies be dealt by this government, sir? That is my question.
See, so obviously there is a department which has to look into the quality also. Okay, there are norms which have to be followed. If they are not following it, legal consequences would be there. And as far as the bribing aspect is concerned, we already have the voluntary code for pharmas, and doctors are barred from taking gifts. This really becomes a big trouble for the healthcare sector. Stricter laws will come. What else?
Yes, sir. Because of these companies, so real quality treatment people, they are not getting the real quality treatment, sir. Doctors nowadays, they don't care about the quality of the medicine, but they're just getting the money under the table. That's my point, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavan.
Yeah, Mr. Padmanabhan Viraghavan.
So what about giving textbooks and lectures to the doctors, sir?
What is it?
So textbooks and literature, scientific abstracts can be given to doctors.
See, books, etc. No, they would come under the gifts. Okay, as good as that. So scientific literature, especially your LBLs and all, whether they would come under gifts or not, because you are really trying to educate the doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Shekhar.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Swati, Advocate Bajpai. So my question is a little different. This is regarding commissions. So for example, sir, I'm from a health tech company. We are into diagnostics. Now we would be paying Google, Facebook, to acquire patients for our diagnostic service, to provide our diagnostic services, right? Now the intent to get diagnostic services come from doctors. So can we, partner with doctors, and for patients who need diagnostic services like diabetic retinopathy, etc., can we provide commission to them once they give us patients? Because this is an expense for us anyways. We have to pay companies like Google, Facebook, other channels to be able to do this business, right? Can we do the same thing with doctors legally?
See, please understand one thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The entire legal framework, ethical framework, which is today in place and which will come in place, as far as your pharma marketing is concerned, is that here the paying person happens to be the patient. You have an underhand dealing with the doctor. And it is the patient who pays the doctor without knowing that, look, here the doctor has prescribed certain medicines or diagnostic tests for which he is also getting some money from the pharmaceutical company. The doctor is certainly going to charge something to the patient also. Okay. So this is the illegal, immoral, unethical nexus which is there, which these laws and ethical codes are trying to break. Okay. And you are doing the same thing. Is the doctor going to tell that patient that, look, I have taken X money from, or I will get X money from this and this diagnostic center? He will not say.
Correct, sir.
So then the patient, poor patient, does not know. Doctor ultimately will say, you go to this diagnostic people, they are very good. Their reports are good. Let the doctor disclose. No doctor will disclose. See, there is a Sunshine Act which has come in US, okay, which actually controls all the pharma marketing activities. There, the doctors and the pharmas both have, or rather the pharmas, they have to upload name of the doctors who have taken money or gift or anything worth $1 from any pharma company. There is a website on which all this data is available. So when things go to that extent, then this is the remedy. I hope I have answered your question, friend.
Yes, sir, you have. See, we are a company that is trying to reduce cost everywhere, right? We're giving the cheapest diagnostics available probably in the country. Having said that, sir, we do struggle because agar hum, as a company, for us to acquire patients directly from the internet, etc., cost us a lot more. Whereas, when we partner with doctors, obviously it becomes much easier, but again we only ask doctors to give us patients that are relevant, who need this service. But again, the question is, sir, it's like they help us bring patients, but at the same time we are obviously giving them everything ethically and into their bank accounts. There's no cash business at all here.
No, it is not ethical. Sorry, it is not ethical.
Understood, sir.
It is not ethical. You are giving it, they are taking it good. Now may probably not come into picture, or you may get something out, but this is certainly not ethical.
Understood, sir. Understood.
Much more on the part of the doctor rather than yourself.
I understand, sir.
Mr. Swaroop Chandra, can you please go ahead?
Yeah.
So he's not.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, Pharma State Academy, for this wonderful initiative. The basic understanding is that doctors can purchase pharma products and can dispense to the patients, can sell their medication to the patients. So that's allowed. Now,
to their own patients.
Yeah, to their own patients, right? But the thing is that we have something called a stockist. The stockist sells to retail chemists, right, at a particular margin. That same margin, we try to pass it on to the doctor, but some doctors do ask for a better margin or a better deal. So as per IMC Act, whether that better deal, which is beyond the deal that we give to the retailer as per the margin structure of the company, is that allowed? Is it ethical, legal from the doctor's point of view?
Ethical, I am not ethical, rather, it's not that I am not ethical, but I would not be the right person to comment on ethicality and morality of someone else. Legally, I think you should not be in some problem, because ultimately you give discounts to the stockist. You will be having a reason if at all this matter goes to the court. You will be having a reason. We give this much margins to the stockists and we are passing that and some more to the doctor ultimately. You will be having good reasons, good defense, if I could just put it in the right legal term.
Mr. Vijay Sharma.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Bajpai, and good afternoon, ma'am. My question is again coming with Swaroop. As companies are giving directly to the doctors now, and even stockist margin is 20%, but company is giving 20 plus 20% margin to doctors. Is that a what we can say legally permitted or not?
I can only say it is not legally barred.
Right, Mr. Vijay, it is not legally barred. That is, there's some disturbance.
Hello.
Yeah.
Satish, there is something.
Yeah, there is a lot of disturbance, Mr. Vijay. So need to go to the next question. Dr. 𝗪𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗃, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you, Mr. Bajpai, and thank you, Pharma State Academy, for this wonderful session. I just like to put two things on the table for everyone to consider. And this is based partly on my own experience in the pharma industry for more than 30 years, and also the queries that have been coming up here. Now, one point was brought up by one of the other queries. Please remember, just because certain companies are doing something, that does not legitimize it. Just because smaller companies are doing it and multinationals are doing it, therefore we should also do it. That is not a legitimate rationale for anything. Number two, giving money on academic pretexts, like giving textbooks and journals and the sponsorships to conferences, also technically qualifies as a bribe. So there is no justification. A doctor is fully or any professional for that matter, is fully equipped for educating and updating himself. They do not need the patronage of a pharma company. But okay, I mean, ultimately, let us see what UCPMP comes up with. And lastly, any money going from a pharma company to a doctor is not justified. I was consulting for a legal firm, and we were just talking, and they said, look, any money that is going, I mean, typically, why is money given? You want to get a service or a product. You want to buy that service or the product. What is the pharma company buying from the doctor? Nothing. So technically, this is an unfair transaction of money. The fact that it is not a law and some people are not able to find a loophole in this, that is a different matter. But if smart lawyers really get into it, they can show that there is no business for a pharma company to give any money to any doctor openly. So, I mean, all this is like, nothing is proven, nothing is in black and white, but these are certain rationales that have come my way, and I'm just putting it for Mr. Bajpai's comment, what he thinks of it. Thank you.
No, quite rightly put, but see, understand, if you are taking some services from the doctors, patient education, or you're calling doctor to a camp where you have called a few patients, you can obviously reimburse the doctor, give professional fees to the doctor. That should not be a problem. The problem arises when you pass on all these things, keeping in mind your ROI, what you call it, return of investment. Then the problem arises.
So we take the last question now. 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗁, please go.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon and thanks for the presentation, sir. I have two questions now. One is that sir told about the evidences to be maintained. So, hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So evidences to be maintained. So now, for example, if we invite some set of patients in the same doctor's chamber, some 10, 20 patients, like doing some camps, let it be like whatever the kind of camps it is for the patient's benefit. For the doctor will do the camp with free of cost to the patients without taking any fees from the patient, because there is no evidence to the doctor also that he collected fees from the patients. For that, can we able to pay some remuneration to the doctor for doing some kind of camp? And that camp also not only for the patient's benefit, in that our brands are involved in that. So in the point of view of the company will get the feedback from the patients and the doctors about the molecule efficacy and the compliance of the brands. All these things will get the feedback. For that, we do free camp for the patients. For that, doctor is not collecting any fees from the patient. And for that, we are paying money to the doctor in the term of conducting the free camp. Is it, and for that, we have evidence of taking photographs of the camps, whatever we conduct, we will take the photographs of the camp conducted. Is it eligible, sir, to the doctors?
The prima facie, what you say, I think, yeah, there should be no problem in that.
So this can be done. This will not come under any law.
See, understand, the doctor is not breaking any law. He is not taking a gift. He is just taking a remuneration that he can charge. Instead of patient, you are paying him. Patient is getting that service free of cost.
But no, sir. See, of course, doctor will take the fees, but there is no proof of fees of the patients. See, doctors is not going to conduct the.
At least from your viewpoint, you could take down the names of the patient that the doctor
exactly
by you
with
proper address. Maybe if you are so much bothered about the UCPMP and the other laws, you can take an Aadhaar card of the patient. These are the people who had come. We have collected all the evidence. We have it.
Fantastic.
Something that very clearly comes out that this was not done for something else. It was done for the purpose what has been stated. And these are the evidence which a normal person would also, collect. Fair enough.
Okay, fine, sir. Second question is like same thing as I told, evidence has to be maintained. We'll invite some 10 doctors to a kind of get-together program. It is not, I can't say it as a CME. If you say CME, you're saying it's a doctor's education knowledge. So we are calling it as a get-together program. We'll invite some 10 doctors. We will have a presentation on our product, and doctors will give their feedback about how they treated the patient, how the brand is efficacious, how the brand is having the compliance. All this doctors will give the feedback. That is also for the benefit of the company doctors are coming and going. For that, can we pay any remuneration to the doctor where he is spending his time, is stopping his practice and coming to the program, get together program? It is not for the enjoyment. He is coming for the company purpose to give the feedback about the product. Where he is losing his practice and coming. For that, we will pay some remuneration to the doctor. Is it applicable, sir? We will have the evidence of taking photographs.
I have already shared with you what were your real intentions. In fact, there were a few questions which had come. There was someone who was disclosing that the questions which are posed to doctors are so obvious that the questions are only posed to do, complete the evidences that yes, everything was above board.
No, sir, what I'm saying, no, sir,
really
actually,
if you have done it in the right way, then why should you be bothering about?
No, sir, what I'm asking is, doctors is coming for, of course, we want to take some investment, we have to put some investment. For that only, I'm making this. For this, I have evidence.
Yes, sir.
The intention is different only.
Yeah,
but evidence based, I'm talking now.
So for sure, this is called expert panel meet, and you can do it for sure, and you can pay to the doctor considering the fair market value, something which is not very exaggerated values you pay. That is all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
And it is mentioned in UCPMP also. You can hire a doctor as a consultant. Yeah.
And thank you all the participants for joining us and putting up the relevant questions, some discussions, some perspectives. Those are very important. And that is why we say that we will bring you the right discussions, the discussions which shall happen for the pharmaceutical, healthcare and doctors, the whole industry. Patient should be the the touch point which should be in your mind while you're doing any act in healthcare. Thank you, Bajpai sir, for a wonderful session. I myself learned a lot from this session on various laws and how it is going on in pharma and between doctors and pharma and how it is happening. Any parting comments today, Bajpai sir?
Let us not forget that we are in a sector which is so very critical, healthcare. Okay. Ethically, morally, legally, we all have to be on the right side. It helps everyone. That is all. Thank you, Dr. Swati. Thank you, Vivek sir. Thank you, Satish, and Pharma State Academy for organizing such a beautiful program.
Thank you, Bajpai sir, for taking out your precious time on a Sunday, being with us. Thank you, Institute of Medicine and Law, and all the people who have joined from the Institute for this session, and all the network, the Pharma network connected with Pharma State Academy, who were very eager to join this session. They showed, and so much, we got so much overwhelming response that we were thinking, how will we manage this? But thank you so much for the support. You all have made this session a brilliant session, a session to be remembered for the year. We'll try to bring in more sessions like this in the future.